Pooh Goes Apeshit. Everything was rather quiet in the 100-acre wood. The trees whispered to each other as the wind rustled their leaves. Under a large oak tree there lived Pooh Bear. From inside Pooh's house there came a steady bang, bang, bang that was making his honey jars rattle on the sideboards. The light came through the window, and in the evening sun Pooh raised the axe once more and brought it down on the tattered remains of Christopher Robin. "Why won't he fit?" puffed Pooh to himself as the axe came down once more. There was a small pile of earth and a hole next to it, which Pooh had hidden with his favorite rug. Christopher Robin, selfish brat that he was, didn't quite fit into the hole Pooh had dug, so instead of making it wider, he had decided to hack Christopher Robin's legs off. "A far more sensible idea," thought Pooh, and hummed a little song to himself as he cut the last tendon and rammed the rest of the body into the hole, finally covering it up with the rug. "Always too bossy," thought Pooh. "Always too bossy. Always grabbing me by the paws, saying, 'Come on, Pooh, let's have an adventure,' or 'Pooh, you are so silly,' in that affected, cutesy, spoiled brat voice, and his stupid little shorts. Bastard!" Pooh had waited all afternoon for Christopher Robin to come round, humming a little tuneless song to himself, whilst gazing blankly into the fire and fondling the oaken handle of the axe. When Christopher Robin had finally turned up, squeaking in his child-actor voice, "Come on, Pooh, open up!" Pooh had answered the door, normal as anything, talked about the weather, and then went to the cupboard and fetched the axe. While Christopher Robin had sat there, prattling on about what a silly bear Pooh was, and how he had a very little brain, which wound Pooh up to no end, Pooh had raised the axe high and brought it down with a satisfying thud on Christopher Robin's skull, cleaving it virtually in two, with just some muscle fiber in place to keep the pieces upright, and freezing Christopher Robin's eyes wide in horror that Pooh, lovable Pooh, could do such a thing. Pooh giggled a little and wiped some saliva from his mouth with a shaky paw. Then Pooh, calm as anything, had mopped up the blood, washed the axe, and begun to dig the hole. Piglet had wondered why Pooh had not called for him that morning to have his tea and biscuits, and so he decided to visit Pooh himself. He admired the evening sun, blood-red, and listened to the birds singing. Pooh watched him get nearer and nearer, and plugged in the drill. Piglet had no time to realize what had happened. The drill pierced his skull, sending a beautiful fountain of blood all over Pooh's orange hide. He rubbed the blood in and all over himself, licking, licking, always licking. Then he pulled Piglet inside and put him in the cupboard. The syringe lay on the sideboard, and Pooh picked it up, paws shaking and sweating, and filled it full of the solution of the funny white powder that had been given to him by a strangely spaced-out rabbit. It was a strange effect at first, and Pooh thought he had seen many strange things, but then experienced a euphoric feeling of power. It made him irritable, and Christopher Robin and Piglet had everything that was coming to them, no doubt at all. When night had fully fallen, Pooh dragged the bodies out and buried them in a makeshift grave. "Adios, dear friends," Pooh giggled. "Things are about to change around the 100-acre wood now that I'm in charge." He laughed hysterically and went indoors. The next day, Tigger and Roo made their way happily to Pooh's house to see if he knew where Christopher Robin and Piglet were, as no one had seen them since yesterday. They were sure Pooh would know, as he had had tea with Piglet yesterday, and was meant to be playing Pooh Sticks with Christopher Robin in the morning. When they reached Pooh's house, the door was wide open, and Pooh was nowhere to be seen. Tigger and Roo looked inside Pooh's house and noticed a large hole in Pooh's floor, and a notice was stuck on the wall with a large blob of congealing honey. Out chuggin' the dragon. Spelling had never been one of Pooh's strong points.
"That's odd," thought Tigger. "There are no dragons in the 100-acre wood, only heffalumps. What's that silly bear up to now?"
Not even Tigger would have imagined what Pooh was up to at that moment. That morning Pooh had woken with a splitting headache and a rather snotty nose. So he had taken a large dose of the white powder, and a little while later had a brilliant idea. He left the house with a container marked insecticide in big red letters. He took the container and went to Eeyore's favorite patch of thistles. "This will serve that manic-depressive donkey right," laughed Pooh aloud. "Always cheating at Pooh Sticks. Cheats never prosper," said Pooh to himself. Then he hid behind a tree to watch the unsuspecting Eeyore eat himself to death. Sheer poetic justice, thought Pooh, as he dumped the dearly dead body of Eeyore in the same grave as Christopher Robin and Piglet. "Shouldn't cheat, you know," shouted Pooh as Eeyore's eyes stared with disbelief. "You're lucky I didn't chop you into little bits and feed you to Tigger," laughed Pooh maniacally, before he covered the makeshift grave over. Pooh didn't return to the house until dinner time, as he was totally spaced out all morning. So when he returned to his house, he was in an awful mood, and all he needed to make him absolutely mad was the sight of Tigger and Roo bouncing up and down outside the house, singing, "Bouncy, bouncy, fun, 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 the wonderful." "Wonderful?" thought Pooh aloud. "My foot, you'd think the writer of this shitty story could think up better lyrics for a song than that. And to think they released the soundtrack album on cassette and CD. A lot of people are going to get ripped off." This lightened Pooh's mood somewhat, but the respite was brief. "What was that you said?" asked Roo. "God, does he ever stop asking pathetic questions?" Pooh thought furiously. "I'm going to have to deal with these prats as well. Is there no one in this place with intelligence apart from me?" Pooh asked despairingly. Pooh felt himself extremely lucky, as Roo had to go home for his afternoon sleep, and that left Tigger at his mercy. Even better, Tigger suggested that himself and Pooh go and play Pooh Sticks. Pooh smiled slyly as an idea formed in his overactive brain, and agreed. "What an opportunity," Pooh whispered to himself as he followed the innocent Tigger to the bridge. Once on the bridge, and the rather pointless game of Pooh Sticks was underway, Pooh thought he'd much rather push his stick up Tigger's ass rather than throwing him into the stream. Tigger was leaning over the side of the bridge looking for his stick, so he did not see Pooh's wide, horrific grin as he outstretched his arms and moved toward Tigger with the intent of pushing the stupid cat into the stream. "Cats hate water, T. He'll drown." There was a loud splash as Tigger hit the water and started to struggle as his head was covered by water. He gulped and choked. Pooh was holding onto the rail of the bridge and jumping up and down with excitement, and was joyously shouting at the drowning Tigger.
"Why?"
sputtered Tigger as he slowly started to turn blue with the cold, which Pooh found hysterical. After all, a blue Tigger? How absolutely silly. "I'll tell you why, you bastard," screamed Pooh. "It serves you right, hiding behind doors and jumping out, and scaring the shit out of people." But Tigger did not hear Pooh's answer, as he was already floating downstream, face down in the water, dead. "Good riddance," laughed Pooh, and looked at his watch. "Still time to get that little dickhead Roo before he wakes up." Pooh sneaked into the sleeping form of Roo's mum and saw Roo's ear poking out a pouch. "Now I've got you, you little git," Pooh thought, smiling, as he threaded a needle with extra strong cotton. He was jolly grateful for Piglet's sewing lessons now, because he would be able to, so he would not be able to get out and his mum would not be able to rescue him. So very slowly and carefully, Pooh began to sew Roo into his pouch, and thereby suffocating the annoying, idiotic twit. After the deed was done, Pooh made his way back to his house, wondering how Mum would take the death of Roo. Badly, hoped Pooh, as he began to cough uncontrollably and felt general nausea overcome him. By the time Pooh got home, he had puked up several times and was very desperate for some more of the white solution. He trembled as he picked up the syringe and gave himself the remaining amount. An awfully large amount, one might say, for a small little bear like Pooh. In fact, too much. Pooh died of an overdose. But he died with a smile on his face. He was dreaming that he was the only teddy bear made with a willy, and dreamed how he had surprised Eeyore one day. But that's a story for another day.